The three sons of Noah were to be the founders of a new human race, one that would start afresh in a world washed clean by the flood. After leaving the ark and receiving Yahweh's blessing, they made new homes for themselves, and it was not long before sons were born to their wives. The family of Noah increased greatly, generation after generation, so that in the course of time the world was indeed replenished through Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Noah himself lived on for 350 years after the flood, his boat-building days over forever. He farmed his lands, worked in his vineyards, and watched his huge family grow. At the age of 950 years, he died, knowing that his sons were the fathers of the nations of the world. From Japheth's 7 sons came the Gentiles, or the non-Jewish nations. Shem's 5 sons were to be the fathers of the Shemites, or the Hebrews, and from his line would spring 2 upright men called Abram and Lot. Ham's 4 sons would go forth and people Africa, and would also be the fathers of the non-Hebrew inhabitants of Canaan. Eventually, the descendants of Shem, later to be called the Israelites, would be in constant battle against the Canaanite descendants of Ham, but this was not to be for many, many years after the death of Noah. Thus were the families of the sons of Noah separated into the nations of the world. And the whole earth, with all its nations, was of one language and of one speech. The descendants of Noah left the region of Mount Ararat and traveled south into the valley of the Euphrates. They found a fertile plain in the land of Shinar, which was a part of the country of Babylonia, and settled down to live there. "Let us make bricks and mortar," they said to each other, "and let us build a city in which we can live together. And let us build a tower so great and tall that its top will touch the skies. We will make a name for ourselves with our tall tower, and we will be a nation instead of being scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." They set to work, and it must be said that they labored with all their strength. They made bricks and more bricks, and carried heavy loads to the building site. They piled brick and mortar higher and higher until the tower grew to be as tall and magnificent as a temple to a pagan god. And still they went on building. They had no need for a tower so elaborate and vast, but they wanted theirs to be the greatest building in the world, so that they could point to it with pride in their accomplishment. And then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men were building. He did not like the tower and what it told him of their pride. The people of earth are only one people, he thought, and they have only one language. And so they are doing this to keep themselves together. If they can do such a thing as this, surely nothing will keep them from doing anything they dream of doing. But their pride is sufficient sin. For it looked, indeed, as though they had again forgotten all about Yahweh, and were beginning to worship the creations of their own hands. "Let us go down there and confound their language," said the Lord, "so that they may not understand each other's speech." And suddenly the builders of the city and the tower could not understand each other. Work stopped at once. It was impossible to go on building when the workmen all spoke different languages. It was the same thing throughout the city. Those who could understand each other came together, and moved away to stay together. Soon little pockets of people speaking their own language appeared throughout the earth. Whoever was left in the city gave up building altogether, because most of its citizens had scattered far and wide. And that is why the city is named Babel. It was there that the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there that the people scattered to the far corners of the earth to form separate nations, each with a language of its own.